Research Online is pleased to bring you this webinar today. Can you rebuild your travel business in half the expected time? Our presenter today is best-selling author and industry-leading business performance coach, Dan Chappell. He's here to talk to you about a simple system that can help you recover in half the time of your competitors. And we always enjoy having Dan here. He's innovative, inspiring, and always makes me ready to jump into action, and I'm sure he will you as well. So Dan, I'm going to turn it over to you now.
Thank you, Lee, and thanks so much, everyone, for joining us today. I know this has been, I hate using all the cliches and stuff like that because, you know, it's kind of like leading into this. It was, you know, you have your disruptors, you have deconstructors, you have all this, and now we're in, you know, unprecedented, all this kind of stuff. I'm tired of hearing about that. I'm tired of all that. I'm ready to move forward and get things going, and I hope you are too. But our environment is changing and has changed. I mean, where we were a couple of months ago is far cry from where we are today. You know, a lot of industry leaders that I've spoken with said they were having and were on track to have their best year ever. And now we have an industry that's in a major contraction mode. So we are all going through a lot of emotions right now, and some of you may be experiencing some of these now, or you may have done this in the last few months. You may have been so busy that you know, with your cancellations and rebookings and things that it hasn't set in yet. But you know, we do feel these emotions, and it's you know, a lot of times we're experiencing fear. We're afraid of what's happening to the business, to our industry, to our clients, to everything that's going on. We have this sense of hopelessness or helplessness because you had absolutely nothing to do with the circumstances that you're in right now. Absolutely nothing. It's not anybody's fault. So we get that sense of helplessness. What did I do? But you didn't, you know, it's important to realize you didn't do anything. You didn't do anything to bring this on. Grief, it's like mourning a lot of times. You know, the business is changing, the clients are changing. You've lost most clients have just moved and paused with you, but a number of them are afraid to travel, and so you're grieving that loss that comes with losing a sale, losing a loved one, losing, you know, just losing a pet. You know, we've all experienced, I think I spelled that wrong. Frustration. Again, it gets back to the same thing with hopelessness. This isn't your doing, and you get frustrated with that. A loss of identity. You know, a lot of folks, and I was guilty of this, you know, years ago, was you identify with your job, because a lot of folks, in addition to losing business, have lost their jobs. It's a loss of identity, and I personally made the commitment that I would not be my job was not who I am, and for many years it took me a long time to get over that. And lastly, it's hungry, and I put this up here because when you reach a certain point, you reach a point where you're willing to do things that you weren't willing to do before, or weren't aware to do before, because you got to put food on the table. You've got to do things to save your business, to feed your family, to keep a roof over your head. Hungry is good when we come out of this deal. So this much we know for sure. The effects of the virus on our economy are not going to go away anytime soon. Even if they start opening up ports, even as they start, I think Delta announced they're going to start June 1st, picking up some more of their flights again. Things like that are going to start picking up, but it's not going to be at the same level that it was before. We shouldn't expect that. It's definitely, and I don't think anybody does at this point. There was a lot of hope in the beginning, but I don't think it's there now that that's going to happen. But the effects of this on our economy are going to be here for a while. In fact, after the 2007, I actually read this just back in, I think, January or December, the employment rate for the United States finally got back to pre-2000 levels, before the Great Depression, recession, whatever you want to call it, from 2007, finally reached that point after almost 10 years of after the event took place. So we're going to be feeling this for a long time, and it's how we handle this personally is going to affect how we come out of this. There will be casualties. We're always seeing that. The travel industry is contracting. It's contracting in a big way. You know, you see the layoffs with your suppliers. You know, Carnival Corporation just laid off 50% of their entire shoreside workforce. You see it with other cruise lines, tour companies, things like that. The hotel industry, it's going to experience a contraction, you know, and a lot of this is because of social distancing. That's going to rules that are going to be out there to play. A number of your suppliers and host agencies and travel agents are either going to merge or they're going to leave the business altogether. It was actually just announced today. I read that Pro Travel and Zelle are going to merge their operations. You're going to see more of that happening and consolidation of management structures within host agencies, suppliers. So your host agencies and your consortia, they earn their money primarily through marketing dollars from the suppliers, overrides, and then in the case of host agencies from your commissions that you sell. Well, all three of those revenue sources have pretty much dried up for at least a temporary basis. So you're going to start seeing those those consortia and host agencies start, you know, where can we band together to be better than what we were before? And there will be increased competition for the consumer. You know, with less inventory, that means there's going to be increased competition. There's also, you know, I haven't seen a great reduction in the number of travel professionals that are out there now either. So here's what we can expect. The available inventory is going to be roughly 20 to 50% of capacity. More realistically, probably 20 to 30% of capacity. That includes Las Vegas. That includes cruise ships. That includes hotels. That includes resorts. They're going to limit the number of people that can be in the environment at any given time. I'm in the Seattle area. They opened up a casino, one of the Indian casinos last week. The line was out the door for like 3 hours, but they were only letting about 60 people in at a time. You see that at Costco as well, and places that, you know, they're limiting the number of people that can go in. Restaurants, all of this, the capacity is really coming down. You know, maybe for the short term, you're going to see great rates, which is a good opportunity for you to sell. But overall, because of the limited capacity, you're going to see rates going higher, which is a good thing because people are going to have to pay more to go on vacation, which means those of us who work on a commission basis are going to earn more money that way. But the available inventory to sell is going to be greatly reduced. And we will see some reduction in the travel agent population. You know, there's going to be those that have been thinking about retiring, getting out, or those that just got in as a hobby. Those are going to go away. But also in times like this is when you see companies that cater to part-timers actually start flourishing, because travel is one of those businesses that a lot of people get into as a side income. It's a low cost to get into it. Everybody loves to travel. Everybody wants to sell travel. So every Tom, Dick, and Harry down the street is going to become a travel agent. So you're going to see some reduction, but it's not going to be as significant as what a lot of folks are probably thinking are going to happen. But that's just my experience based on coming through the 2007 when we started Expedia Cruise Ship Centers in the U.S. We actually recruited over 1,000 people to join as agents between 2007 and 2010. So during times of economic time, people like this, you know, people are laid off, they're looking for additional sources of income, and travel is one that they tend to go to because it's easy. I found this on the internet. I want to throw it up there real quick, and you know, this is the job of a travel agent, what people think you do, but at the bottom there, in the bottom right, it's what you really do. You know, you've been shoveling a lot of paper, particularly the last few months. Canceling, rebooking, refunds, certificates, stuff like that. So you've been doing a lot of work for basically nothing. You know, some of the cruise lines have stepped up and done really well with protecting commissions on both the front end and the back end. I mean, that's kind of something I've never seen before. But the reality of it is, you know, we've had a tough job in what we do, and it's you know, it's starting. We should be starting to hit that lull right now where. Now we're going to start seeing some positive stuff. I think it was Delta said that yesterday that new bookings are actually outpacing cancellations for the first time since all this started. So that's a good sign. But I want to talk a little bit about the evolution of the travel agents and the travel agency business here for a minute. Prior to 1995, if you owned a travel agency, you basically had a license to print money. In fact, for those of you who remember this, we had card stock that actually you had to put it in a safe. You had to count for every one of them just like it was, money. And you got a commission anywhere from 10 to 40% commission on any airline ticket that you sold. Okay? And it was just money just flowing in. It was a great, great business to be in. Then in 1995, the airlines got together and decided they didn't want to pay commission anymore. And all of a sudden, you see a similar trend to what we're seeing today. Okay? There's contraction in the industry because these travel agencies relied on airline tickets for their income. Well, all of a sudden that dried up. So now what do? Well, we either consolidate or we have to start selling vacations, more and more, packages, cruises, tours, things like that, things that actually provide a commission basis. Very few started charging fees. And this was actually about the time of the birth of the home-based business model. Now, this is something that we've seen several times throughout the last 20, 30 years, is the similar type of events affecting the industry like this. So prior to 1995, it was a great business to be in. Then it contracted down. A lot of consolidation took place. A lot of brands that were well-known back then on the supplier and the agency side went away. And it emerged out of that a better business overall. A lot of people got into it, tried to make money, and didn't because they didn't know how. About that same time, this is when online travel, the OTAs came on the scene. What they did was they took those things that weren't being paid for to the travel agents, the basic stuff, air, car, hotel, and turned them into commodities. Okay, and they could do it, and they could sell a lot of it. Okay, so they could get away with not making much money on that, and that's exactly what they did. But what also came out of that on a positive side was a lot of tools that we use today. With Expedia, they have a thing called Excentia, which a lot of people use to actually run their business. So the technology has actually helped. The tools have come out of it to help that. But that's kind of where we went through this. Today's modern travel professional is home-based. They're an independent contractor, has much more in common with a real estate agent, a residential real estate agent, than they do with the travel agent of pre-1995. Okay, you don't own the product. You work on commission. You get paid when it sells, right? Same type thing. You have to cultivate your own network of business. You don't have to go out there and go all over the World Wide Web to get clients. The best real estate agents I know, and I'm talking about those in my area that earn over $1 million a year, they specialize. They have a niche. They focus on particular areas, whether it's lakefront on a particular lake, not any lake, farm and ranch land, particular neighborhoods. They don't fit the mold of what you think of with a real estate agent as being just a glorified taxi driver. No, they are very focused on what they do, and they attract and proactively go after the people that they want to do business with. And that's the difference between being a truly successful real estate agent or travel professional than those that are just kicking the tires out there. So your greatest opportunity for success lies right under your feet. You may, if you've heard any of my presentations before, you know that I'm a big believer in this. And if you're not familiar with the story called Acres of Diamonds, I suggest you go read it, look at it. It's online. You can see YouTube videos of it. But it's instead of chasing all over for the diamonds or for the clients or for the riches, it's focusing on what's right under your feet, the people that who know, like, and trust you right now, rather than go out and try and start relationships with people who you don't know, who primarily price focused and are just going to look for the best deal. So why should you listen to me? Why should you even care what I have to say or my opinions about this or anything else? And I get it because I question it as well. I've been called an optimistic realist. In fact, one of my performance reviews and I won't say which of the three companies during my corporate years, said, and this was in a negative way, that I was overly optimistic. Well, that didn't make sense to me because you have to be optimistic. You have to look at the positive side. You have to look at how you're going to achieve whatever's in front of you. But I'm also a realist. And I see what the environment is today, and I see where the opportunities are. Yes, it's a negative environment right now, but out of times like this is when we tend to prosper the most. And those who prosper the most are going to be those that are willing to get their hands dirty, get down in the mud, and do the things that they need to do to get to that next level and bring it back up. And that's what I'm going to share with you later on today. Like many of you, I started with a dream to get into this business, to deliver the same high level of service that the client expects on their vacation. And because of that and staying focused on what that mission was, we built a very successful travel business out of it. I've overcome many of the same challenges that you're experiencing today multiple times, whether as an agent or agency owner or as an industry executive. We had this is probably the biggest event, but we've learned from a lot of things that have happened in the past. The first Gulf War, 9/11, the recessions, the other viruses that have been out there. We've learned from these things, and you learn from those experiences, and it'll help you get to a better place. So who am I? I'm an entrepreneur, just like most of you. This is my second or third business that I've had, and I follow the exact same steps I'm going to show you today. I've used them in my businesses and with others. I'm an experienced business coach and advisor, but my focus here is to help you create a better sales-focused business. We tend to lose sight of what our role really is in this industry, and the role is we are the travel agency system is the retail sales network for the suppliers, for the travel industry. You're not in the business of marketing, you're not in the business of all this other stuff. You're in the business of doing what? Selling. We get paid on a commission. So we want to stay focused on what that mission is. And we have an opportunity right now that we have never had in our business, because we have almost a complete shutdown. And this gives you the opportunity to reimagine your business. I don't say reinvent, I mean reimagine what your business looks like. Think back when you first started, and what did you think it would be? What did it look like? Who were you working with? What did you want to accomplish out of that versus where you were prior to this? Most of us, it's a very different thing. My coaching business, my consulting business looks very different than what I thought when I first got into it. I thought I was going to be a speaker on the main stages, and I found out that really wasn't what I wanted to do. I'm a trainer. I'm good at teaching people how to do this business and do that well. So I found my niche within the business, and you can find yours as well. And just think about where you want it to be and how you want it to look. So reimagine your business is, we have this opportunity to essentially start over. But the difference is you're starting over with a solid knowledge base. You've got experience that you didn't have before when you got into the business. You also have some bad habits that you probably picked up along the way that need to change, but you have the opportunity to change those now without a lot of distraction on the outside. So this is the big thing, is you've got that solid core to start with. You can set boundaries with your customers. So when I work with private coaching clients, this is what we work on the most. It's setting boundaries, because their business has taken over their life. They're answering phones at 2 o'clock in the morning, or emails, or whatever, in the middle of dinner. You started the business because you had personal goals. You wanted probably to travel. You wanted to have time. You wanted to accomplish some things. You didn't want the business to be your life. So we talk about setting boundaries now so that you can control your customers, you can control your suppliers, and more importantly, you can control your time, because it's your business. This is something that we should really focus on. It's your business, not theirs, and so you need to set the boundaries that'll work there. It also gives you an opportunity to think big. Reimagine your business. What does your team look like? Most of you are probably trying to do everything yourself, but think of your team as you may have a virtual assistant that you have for a couple hours a week. You may, think of your consortium or host agency as part of your team. Their primary focus is marketing, and that's where they come in to help you, not just commissions and stuff like that. But what does your team look like? And you put it all on paper, and maybe your name is on every position and every role, but what you're doing is you're dreaming big. You're reimagining what it's going to look like as you come out of this, because you're not going to be able to do it all by yourself, most likely. You'll be able to start it, but in order to grow and be efficient, you're going to want to bring on temporary help. as part of your team. And the real important thing here is we get back and focus on the fundamentals of a sales-based business. I said this before, I'll say it again. We are the retail sales force for the travel industry. Okay? That's our role. That's our job. We need to stay focused on that. We've been distracted by so many other things that we have out there. So we want to stay focused on that. You have to be better than what you were before. You have to be better. And there's a lot of reasons for this. Your clients are going to demand it, but so is your competition. Your competition is going to be out there fighting for a lot of the same clients because the industry's contracted. Not as many people will be traveling, at least temporarily. So you've got to be better. You've got to stand out from the crowd. I use this a lot because it's so simple. Peter Drucker, if you don't know who he is, Google him, you'll learn about him. Said this very, very simply about business. The purpose of a business is to create and keep a customer. That's it. To create and keep a customer. We get caught up in doing all of the other stuff when if we stay focused on this alone, and the things we need to do to make that happen, will turn your business around in no time at all. But so everything I do, I go back to this statement. The purpose of the business is to create and keep a customer, to simplify everything. We've made it too complicated. So today I'm going to take you through the sales acceleration systems, which this is a proactive, here's the key word, proactive and holistic approach to business. It doesn't concentrate just in one area. It's not just on marketing. It's not just on retention. It's not just on sales. It's a holistic approach to your business that when you start doing this and practice it regularly, and it's a system, you do this just like McDonald's makes hamburgers, you can easily cut your recovery time down in half to your pre-COVID sales and probably exceed it going there. But the key word is proactive. This is where we get hungry. This is where we take control and jump out ahead of stuff here. First step is we want to focus on a rock-solid sales strategy. If you want to take notes, I encourage you to do so. There's some things I'm going to tell you should probably write down. This is one of them. Focus on a rock-solid sales strategy. You don't need a business plan. You don't need something that's going to sit up on a shelf somewhere. You need a sales strategy. And a sales strategy, everything you do in your business needs to be focused on achieving the goals you set in your sales strategy. And you need alignment in 4 areas for this strategy to work. First of all, how much do you want to earn? It's your business, so it's about money. Okay. Right now, that's important. Cash flow is king, right? So how much do you want to earn from your business? You have to start with a number there. And it could be time. It could be a number in time, but the reality of it is how much do you want to earn out of the business? Then the second thing that needs to be in alignment is the brand called you. This gets back to the real estate analogy. You think about your real estate agents. You don't know them as ABC Travel or Jane's Travel Service. No, you know them as Margot or Ruth or Renee Venice or what have you. They have names. That's the brand. Their brand is their name, is who they are. And you'll see, for instance, a Renee Venice is it's all about Renee Venice with a little Windermere or Keller Williams or Remax. Those are the brands that support what she does. People do business with people, not necessarily with companies most part. And when they talk about recommending you and referring you, they refer a person. They don't refer the business typically. So this is important. Even with a lot of big agencies that are out there, they're recommending the agent within that agency, not the agency itself. So you want to focus on building the brand called you. You want to know who your prospects are. Okay, who do you want to work with? At the end of the day, that's one of the most important things is you want to work with people who are going to support your vision to be able to get you to your goal. Also products that will support your plan. Okay, if your focus is on selling luxury travel, you don't want to focus on prospects that are looking for 3 and 4 day Cancun packages. No, you want people that are going to focus on those higher end travel products and resorts, okay, and that can pay for it. those are the ones that are going to support your plan. So all of this is part of your overall sales strategy, but the four most important things. And these all need to be in alignment for you to achieve your goals. Part of this is adopting a do-it-now mindset. We talk about mindset's so important, and there's a lot of talk about positive mindset and manifesting this and doing other things like that. But what I want to focus on is the do-it-now mindset. Don't put things off. If you're sitting here waiting for this to be over with, you're going to be waiting for a long time. Okay, you got to do things now. You got to stop making excuses, pick up the phone call, send the email, stop complaining about what's going on in the world, stop procrastinating, and just do it now. One thing that's going to help you with this do it now is the power of reframing. Okay, reframing the activity, because you're going to need to do some things throughout this that you probably have never done before, or maybe aren't comfortable doing to get to where you want to go. And we're all driven by two main motivators, and that's pain and pleasure. We always try to avoid pain, and we're all seeking pleasure. That's it. That's what drives us. Okay, so for pain, it's fear, rejection, criticism. I've seen call nights where I've had agents that just were terrified to pick up the phone and call somebody that they'd already actually had a conversation with, because their fear that they were going to be told no. But if you took that same conversation and you turned it around and reframed it, it's like, by making that phone call to this person that I've already spoken to, I have the opportunity to change my lifestyle, earn more money, have more happiness, success, put my kids through school, give them the vacation of their dreams. Okay. Turning things from pain to pleasure. It's a proven fact we always will do our best to avoid pain, as opposed to seeking pleasure. So we need to look at reframing some of the activities that we're going to be doing into things that are positive to help us through that. Second step is attraction marketing. The objective of attraction marketing is very simple. This is probably the most overused step in all the processes here, is that it's not to create buyers. We're expecting people to buy from the stuff we send out to them. It's to create prospects. It's to create prospects that we can nurture a relationship so that they, you don't just take somebody, meet somebody and take them straight to the altar. You learn from them. You learn about it. You develop that relationship, and then they turn into buyers. So that's the purpose really of attraction marketing, is to create prospects, not buyers. It is a reactive strategy. This is something that you sit and wait. It's like, I call it the bait the hook and wait plan. It's like, you put a worm on the end of a hook, you throw the line in with the bobber, and you just sit and wait for something to come by and bite. And it may or may not be what you're fishing for. But that's what you're doing. That's typically what attraction marketing is. The purpose that you really want to use it for is to communicate your personal brand and the specialty that you focus on to attract the right prospect into your database so that you can start nurturing that relationship with them. That's what that's all about. There is times that it's used to sell a product on the time, and that's tactically. And this is what you see a lot of with the stuff that comes from your suppliers and from your consortia or hosts. Tactically it's used. It's typically a single product on a single date at a single price, and that's what you sell. That's when people are calling that reach out to you for that. That's what they're looking for. It's that product on that date at that price, typically. And if you don't have all three in alignment there, they're typically not going to be a good prospect for you there. They'll go off the thing. So that's attraction marketing, and we tend to put a lot of emphasis on this when I think the most important step that we need to take, and this is the one that people are most fearful of typically, is committing to active prospecting. The most successful people that, I talked about the real estate professionals that specialize in lakefront property or ranch land. Okay. They're actively pursuing the clients that they want to do business with, that fit the ideal type of person that wants to buy a lakefront home on Lake Sammamish or Lake Washington or on the Puget Sound here. I live in the Seattle area. Okay. That's what they're looking for. They're not looking for the people that want to live in one of the cookie cutter neighborhoods. They're looking for a particular buyer for a particular type of home, and they've nurtured their networks to make that happen. So what happens when you prospect? And again, this is the most important thing for you to proactively, if you want to cut your time in half, this is what you need to truly commit to, and that's active prospecting, because people want to book right now. We just got to go out there and find them. So what happens when you prospect? It's simple. You interrupt. You interrupt. And it doesn't matter if you call them at 8 o'clock in the morning, you're going to interrupt breakfast. You call them at 9 o'clock, they just get to work. You call them at 11 o'clock, they're in a meeting or getting ready for lunch. Call them at noon, they're at lunch. Call them at 1 o'clock, they're taking a nap at their desk. It doesn't matter when you call. There's no good time per se, because you're always going to interrupt them. You will face repeated rejection. Look at the telemarketers. You know, I mean, I got a robocall thing on my phone that I don't know how many it gets rid of every day. But the fact of the matter is, calling works. Okay, prospecting works. It's a numbers game, so you are going to be turned down a lot. I'm going to share with you a way that you're going to turn that into a low number, simply because you're working with people that, you know, under your acres of diamonds format, of people that you already know, and building relationships from there. But you will face rejection. That's no doubt. That's part of sales. That's what we're doing in sales. Look at baseball, for instance. If you got you know, one of the greatest hitters of all time, they bat 400, right? That means they failed, you know, 60% of the time. They lost out on 60%. You know, that's not a number I would want in sales. I'd want a higher number, but you're still going to face rejection there when it comes to prospecting. But it will provide you with a steady stream of ideal prospects, because when you're prospecting, you're not out there, and I said this earlier, you're not out there just looking for anybody that's going to, you know, fog a mirror and write a check. You're looking for someone that fits the profile of the business that you've reimagined that you want your life to be like going forward. And that's who you're looking for, and that's who you're doing business with. And for those of you who are looking for luxury travel, I can tell you right now, that's going to be one of the first areas that's going to come back. Okay? It may be domestic luxury, but it's still going to be one of the areas that come back, because travel is part of their lifestyle, and they want that back. So 92% of consumers trust recommendations from their friends and family over all other forms of advertising. This is from Nielsen. You know, they're the ones that do the TV ratings. They get everything up there for you. 92% trust recommendations from friends and family over all other forms of advertising. Let that sink in there for a second while I take a sip of my tea. 92%. So my question to you is, why are most of you wasting so much time and money trying to attract the other 8%? Think about that. Think about all the resources and time that you're putting out there trying to attract people who you don't know. You're going to have to start building a relationship with when you've got 92% of people who want to do business with you because they trust the recommendations from their family and their friends. That's where we really need to start focusing, and that's the power of prospecting. So what's the best way to find new clients? Well, first and foremost, you got free leads. That's it. And this is kind of at the bottom of the pyramid. We're going to go up. You typically don't have any control over the quality. For those of you who are members of Avoya or other organizations that get leads, you're getting everything from brochure requests to people who want to book, $100,000 trips. You don't know what you're going to get out of that, but the majority of them are going to be, not necessarily the kind of quality that you want to, particularly when you're first getting started in there. Paid advertising. That's your attraction part. That's, gone fishing. You're going to attract whoever bites. The reactive referral. Now we're getting into referrals here. This is when you have clients who are talking about you at a dinner table or talking about you to some friends, and you don't know that this conversation happened. You don't know if they're ever going to contact you. You don't know if it just, came up and was dropped. Okay, but that's how that works. But this is where we start getting into the gold. The proactive referral. This is where you have a systematic process of asking clients, friends, and family for a referral to a prospect that fits the avatar, meaning that what you think your ideal client looks like. And that ideal client probably won't have all the characteristics, but they're going to have a bunch of them there. But it's who you want to do business with. This is where the gold is. Now, the prestige referral, these are your raving fans. These are the people who know, like, love you. They'll stand at the top of the mountain and scream your name and bring, physically walk people into your house, your office, wherever you happen to be at, and say, you got to do business with this person. I've done business with thousands of people in my career, and I can tell you, probably one hand, how many people are that, were my true raving fans. That I had a lot of people that loved what I did for them, but people who would stand at the top of the mountain, no provocation, no whatsoever, and drive business to me. Those are the people that you really want to get. But the reality of it is, in order to build your business, to come out of this where you need to be, where you want to be, and take it to the next level, you need to proactively work on referrals. Now, I call this network referral prospecting. Why? Well, it's work. It's work. It's not just simply showing up in an event or an online Zoom networking event or anything like that. You have to work the relationship. But in a nutshell, here's how it works. So this is Jane, and Jane's a travel professional that she's been in business for a while, and she's got some friends, what we call her immediate circle of influence of people. These are friends, family, past clients, things like that. They have their own friends and family circle of influence there that they have had business done. Jane may have met them at a barbecue or at a cocktail party or something like that at one of their homes over the years, and they have their own networks and so on and so on and so on. The reality of it is here, this is where your sweet spot is. This is where 65 to 70% of your business is going to come from, because most people don't want to do business with somebody close to them. Most of you have probably had friends or families that have come out, they've asked you for information on planning a trip, and you've done a bunch of work for them, and then you never hear from them again. They've ghosted you. That's the new term, ghosted you. Okay. And you may hear that they booked with somebody else, or they booked direct or something like that. Well, the reason they don't book with you is they don't want to jeopardize the relationship, even though they probably did, because you did all the work and they didn't. They would prefer to work with someone that they may be an acquaintance or they don't know at all, as opposed to someone who's close to them, because they want to preserve that relationship. So our objective here is to get, so about 10 to 15% of your business will actually come from the people close to you. Our objective here is to get to that 65 to 70% at the second and third levels by asking for a referral. Okay, what the referral part of this is gold. When you're asking people close to you, so you're saying something like, "Hey, Jane, this is Dan at ABC Travel. I was just talking to Bob, our mutual friend Bob, and he mentioned that you were interested in taking a river cruise next summer. I happen to be a travel professional that specializes in European river cruising. When would be a good time for us to get together and chat?" That person on the other end of the phone or email or wherever is going to be much more receptive to you because you have a mutual friend. This is a warm acquaintance. This is a prospect that you have someone in common, and they trust that person if that person is giving out your name. Okay, so that's where we have to do this, and this is a numbers thing too. You have to get in there and you got to work it. It's not going to just fall in your lap. But if you do these things, this is what successful salespeople do. Rather than cold calling, you're warm calling. And this is, and everybody wants to take a vacation. And if we're looking up here, for instance, and you see, if you're a Disney specialist, for instance, okay, in that red circle, who do you want to go after? Do you want to go after the young couple at the bottom? Maybe, if it's a honeymoon. How about the single guy over there by himself? Probably not. Your ideal prospect in here is probably this young family. That's who you want to go to, and forget the rest of them. You want to go to the ones that fit the profile that you want to do business with and fit the model that you're working with there. Does that make sense? Fantastic. They don't call it dialing for dollars for nothing, particularly in this day and age, because if people are home, people are lonely, they want to talk to somebody, and Zoom is not always the way to go. But prior to this event, 20 to 60% of all calls were answered. The number's probably a lot higher now. When's the best time to call? We already established that. There is no best time to call. Anytime you call, you're going to interrupt. So it's really, you pick the time during the day when it's most convenient for you to start making calls. And we call that the golden hour or golden 15 minutes or half hour. But this is a time you want to protect at all costs so that you're doing your active prospecting during this time uninterrupted, because it's so easy to get distracted and get away from that. You want to use scripts. You know, in my program, I have scripts that are written out. You want to use them and you want to make them their own. You know, when I was in college, I sold books door to door. And, you know, we had 15 pages of sales scripts and objections and stuff to learn before we hit the field. And I can tell you, the first couple doors that I knocked on, where I actually knocked on them and was able to talk to somebody, I sounded like, "Hi, My name is Dan, and I'm talking to, who am I talking to? I'm talking to the families with little preschool and school age. We're selling, student handbooks, and that was our target. But that's how it sounded. It sounded fake. It sounded like I was, trying to memorize something. But after about a week, it was, "Hi, I'm Dan. I'm the one talking to all the families in the neighborhood with little preschool and school age kids. I was just talking to Mrs. Jones down the street. She suggested I reach out to you and show you what I got." So you do it like that. You have a script that you're following, and you make it your own. And don't worry if you make a mistake, because you're the only one who know you made up. And if you have, always leave a voicemail. Nobody has, well, my grandmother did before she passed away, has phones like this anymore. Everybody has caller ID. Everybody has cell phones, what have you. Leave a voicemail. They know you called, so leave a voicemail. Step number 4 is the high performance selling system. This is a roadmap. This is going to give you the speed, the confidence, and the control of the process. People they don't want to spend hours with you. They want you to help them quickly so they can move on to the next thing in their lives. The system comes with establishing rapport, qualifying and researching. This is asking the why questions, actually doing the presentation, asking for the credit card, questions and follow-up, and then the process just repeats itself. Step number 5 is arguably next to prospecting the most important here, and this is follow-up. Follow-up, 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 follow-up. When you follow up, the line is, the fortune is in the follow-up. It really is. Okay. You want to be personal. You want to be relevant. You want to entice them. You want to give them a call to action. And whether you're leaving a voicemail message, an email this way, which I suggest you call versus email, or do all of the above, because it gives, people can hide behind email. And you do that as many times as you need to do. And here's why. 48% of the people give up after the first contact. So if you work in a retail establishment, retail travel agency, and somebody walked in the door, odds are good, and statistics back this up, that 50% of the people are not going to get a call back. 25% may get one, but are giving up after the second one, and so on and so on. 80% of the sales are made after the first 5 contacts. So what you've done there is you're developing that relationship part. We talked about that in back to the attraction marketing part of it. You're attracting prospects and you're building relationship, and that's exactly what you're doing here. And that's why follow-up is so important to do. And lastly is retention marketing. So retention, you've worked really hard. You've invested all this time in your active prospecting. You've spent some money on the attraction marketing, but yet statistically, and this is bared out throughout my entire career, 25 to 30% of your customers are going to book somewhere else the next time. They're not going to buy from you again. So what we want to do is focus on, expanding that number, growing that number. And you do that through what we call the 4 C's of retention. That's communication, which is communicating with them in the manner that they want to be, whether it's through text, voicemail, email, what have you, newsletter, have you. Content, something that's relevant to what their travel needs are. Consistency, traveling when they want to doing this on a regular basis so that they get in the habit of expecting. And then community. Everybody wants to be a part of something. So you want to create some sort of community where they can share pictures and meet other travelers and things like that. That's how you retain your clients. You've invested so much into them. It's a shame that so many of them go somewhere else, and they do that because of indifference, not because you did anything wrong. It's because they don't think you care about them. So give them a reason to think that you care about them. So how you feeling now? How you feeling now? We started out with, some of the emotions that we were feeling, and in this, which step are you at today? I'm at right there in the middle. My job today was, how do I do it? I laid out a simple program, a simple thing for you to follow that will take you, if you do those things, if you're proactive about it, not only will you get back what you lost before, but you'll go far beyond that. You'll get this sense of self-worth. You'll feel productive. More importantly, you'll feel like you're in control of your business and your destiny going forward, and have a positive outlook going forward. We have a great industry. It's going to change. It's not going to be like what we saw before, but it's going to keep going. Nothing that I've shared with you today is based on theory. It's not fluff or anything that might work. This is how successful entrepreneurs build and rebuild their businesses in times of crisis and even before. I use this. I've done this multiple times throughout different businesses that I've owned or been involved with, and it works. It's getting down and doing the basic fundamental things and not being distracted by all of that other stuff. So how can you leverage what you learned today to start achieving sales success in the next 30 days? When you're hungry, if you've ever been hungry, maybe you're hungry now, you're going to discover that you can do some things that you were afraid you couldn't do. Anybody remember the first time you jumped off the high dive? I do. I'm 56 years old now, or will be next week. I was 6 years old at the Edina pool in Edina, Minnesota, and I stood up on that high dive, which looking at it now, it's really not that far. It's only like 10 feet, I think. But I stood up there for over 5 minutes and finally jumped off. And when I did, it was like the coolest thing I've ever done. And I ran back up and got on it again and just, probably did it 50 times that day. What you find is once you do something, you find how easy it really is. And the block was in your head. So that's the do it now mentality. So we've got to get in there and do it. And I can help you overcome these fears. I can help you get to where you need to go with your business, starting from scratch. You have a choice. There's a lot of options that are out there. There's a lot of coaches. There's a lot of things that are going on out there. Then you can pick and choose what you want. You can do it the slow and expensive way, which is primarily through trial and error. You can focus on one little individual piece of your business, but that's not going to help you the way you really need it right now. I can help you get through that. Regardless what you do, whether you let me help you, whether you go somewhere else, or whether you do it on your own, you still have to be better than you were before. You have to be better. In times of recovery, people look to travel as a side gig. Many of you may have gotten into it because of that, as a side gig, because of the low barrier of entry. Direct marketing firms typically flourish during this time because it's travel, because people are laid off, people are looking for other sources of income. From what I'm hearing in the industry, new agent classes, that actually the ones that have programs are actually packed. And I'm talking about these are ones that people are paying $2,000, $3,000 to be a part of. Okay. But regardless, you need to stand above the crowd. You've got to stand out. You've got to be better than you were before. You've got to know more than you did before. But more importantly, product knowledge is easy. Everybody's getting that. You're getting probably overloaded on free stuff. Where you need to focus is on the business, building the business and a system that's proven to work. And here's what you will master in my Sales Acceleration Program. You're going to master your sales strategy, the business model that you work with, the niche selection, personal branding. In the attraction marketing, we're going to get alignment of everything that you need to be aligned to be able to attract that customer that you want to do business with. Referral prospecting, we talk more in detail on that, but we do a real deep dive into this with scripts and everything else that we have there. The sales system, this is where a lot of folks live. You spend all this money on attraction marketing, you do all this prospecting. What happens when you get them? What now? It's like when the fish bites. What do you do? So you follow the 5-step process that I outlined earlier. Follow-up. This, to me, outside of prospecting, this is the single most important thing that you can do. And again, there's scripts, there's processes. I walk you through the whole thing that you can do for email, voicemail, phone, conversations, all of those. And then lastly is client retention. You work so hard to get them, you got to keep them if you really want to grow in this business, or any business for that matter. Here's what some folks have been saying that have participated in the program in the past. I'll let you, kind of read through that. But basically, I've been letting others dictate how I run my business. This is your business. You need to build it out the way you want it to be and not sit there at the mercy of everybody else. And once that light bulb clicks off, this is where people really take control. And this is where you really grow and cultivate your network and through prospecting to really make it work for you. So the Sales Acceleration System, it's an online coaching program. There's 6 modules. You'll have full access to them from day one. You can learn at your own pace. If it takes you, 30 days, if it takes you 6 months, it's up to you. However long you want to go through that. There's over 43 lessons in there. Each month I do hot seat coaching. So it's a group coaching environment. You jump in there and tell me what's on your mind, and we talk you through it. And we'll also get input from the other people on the call as far as, because they may be experiencing the same thing. So it's a great environment for you to learn. And even if you don't participate, say anything, just observe. I have this. I learned this from the business coach I work with. I pay 15 grand a year to work with this program, and this is one of the greatest things that I got out of it was just being a fly on the wall during some of these coaching sessions, the hot seat coaching sessions that they have. As part of this, you'll get sales action plans, you'll get marketing scripts, you'll get the business plan template if you want to build a business plan out of it. Prospect the scripts. There's a lot of stuff that comes with every section of this has additional bonuses that come as part of that. There's a private Facebook group, access to events, reading lists, beta testing, email support. I'm always available for people when they need me. I'm always there. So how much does it cost? Well, first, I'm going to do something for you that I've come to find that in 5 years I've been doing this, I think I've given 2 refunds. That's it, 2 refunds of all the programs I have. So I'm going to give you, basically you can try this for the equivalent of free, I'm going to give you a money-back guarantee, 90 days. 90 days, no questions asked. You just send me your receipt that you got when you bought it, and you decide you don't like the sound of my voice, you don't like this, you don't want to do that, I'll send your money back, no questions asked. Okay, 90-day guarantee. I don't know of anybody in the business that is as confident in their products as what I am in mine. Are there going to be people that take advantage of it? Sure. There's always going to be people that take advantage of it. And you know what? Shame on them for doing that. But the reality of it is most people are in it for the real and the right reasons. And I am confident that I can help you take your business to the next level and get you through what you're going through right now and come out ahead at the end of the day. How much does it cost? It's only $489. $489 for the complete system. Just simply go to wealthytravelagent.com, scroll down the page, you'll read through, you'll learn about it, or click on any Buy Now button. It'll take you to this spot here. Click on that. Again, you've got the 90-day money-back guarantee. It'll take you to the checkout page. Here's the beauty of this, too, is if you're one of the first 50 people that sign up, you have the opportunity to get my book, Get Your Ship Together, the Wealthy Travel Agent Guide for Sales for free. I've got copies. I was supposed to participate in a couple of conferences back in mid-March. Of course, they got canceled, so I've got a stock of books that I was going to sell there, and so I need to move the inventory. So all you got to do is pay $11.95 shipping and handling, and they're yours. If you buy it on Amazon, it's $19. So your choice. But you have the opportunity for the first 50 people who sign up to get the book for free, just paying shipping and handling. And that's it. That's all you got to do there. Knowing you need to make a change isn't enough. You've got to find the guts to do it. Robert Kiyosaki, he wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Extremely successful individual. But if you're going to make the change, if you're going to do things, if you're going to reimagine your business and your life and everything, you got to have the guts to do it. You got to make the choice, because as Henry Ford said, you'll find man's greatest surprise is that, it's not that big of a deal. You can do with the things that you were afraid to do. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on YouTube at Wealthy TA, Facebook, Wealthy TA. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm Dan Chappelle. You can visit the website at wealthytravelagent.com. You can send me an email at dan@wealthytravelagent.com. And I started about 2 months ago the Wealthy Travel Agent podcast, and good gracious, has that exceeded my expectations. We have multiple episodes with over 1,000 downloads of it, so it's been just phenomenal where the podcast has gone. So if you know anyone who's been successful, or you are, and you want to share your story, reach out to me, and we'll talk to see if you're qualified to come on. If not, just it's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anything else that you want to listen to out there. I'm available. I put myself out there so that you can find me, and I'm here to help. Okay, I'm here to help, and the Sales Acceleration System will help you get through those stages that you need to do. But you got to be willing to get your hands dirty. You got to get down. You got to be hungry. You got to be at the point where, you know what, I got to put food on the table, keep the roof over my head. That's the point where people are willing to do the things they weren't willing to do prior. Okay? And that's really what's going to take your business to the next level. We're a sales-focused company. We're a sales-focused industry. But yet we've turned it into a marketing, or we've turned it into service. We've turned it into a lot of other things, and we've gotten away from the core of what's truly going to get us where we need to do. And that's focusing on the selling activities and generating new prospects proactively. as we do that. So thank you so much for your time. Lee, if there are any questions, let's open it up. We've got a few minutes, I think.
Yeah, we do have a few minutes. So I'd like to ask you a few. I just want to say to everyone listening, if you do have to leave, the replay is going to be up at travelresearchonline.com in our webinar section. We might run a couple minutes past the hour just because great questions here. So, Dan, let me start with this question. With time so different now, should we not try to get what we can now so that we have something at least on the books rather than focusing on a niche market?
Well, the short answer to that is yes, but I'm looking at it as the long game. So, to build your business, for the most part, 2020 travel, anything that you pick up here and there is just going to be gravy. Focus on 21 and 22. That's where the bookings are coming for cruise lines, tour companies, hotels, everything else. They're going strong in that direction. That's where you're going to run out of inventory. Right now, 2020, we don't know what's available for the most part. If you can get a booking for that, absolutely, you want that because that'll help your cash flow. But if the reality of it is currently I don't know of any major destination domestically that's open. Even the national parks, for the most part, are closed. Like, for instance, Mount Rainier National Park, near where I am, the gate, you can go on it if you can get to the mountain, which you have to go in about 20 miles to get to it. But all the facilities are closed, the roads are closed, everything else. So as I think places open up more and more, and you have the opportunity, because people will want to travel and they will want to drive, but I think it's going to be more local and regional. Take advantage of that. Make yourself the local expert. Make the regional expert. Maybe your niche is in wellness travel, and so you're selling the spas at the Broadmoor or at Canyon Ranch or some of the things in Ojai, California. Stuff I forget what they are, but these spa resorts that will be open. Okay. Take advantage of that, yes, but the reality of it is, our industry is kind of at a standstill I think what you may book now, you may be good late in the fall or something, but right now, short term, it's tough. This is what I shared with you today is more the long game, more where you need to take your business, and you can start by booking this stuff now for the next couple of years going forward.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dan. Next question I have for you. What do you think about asking for referrals with a reward for the one who refers you?
That's a great question. First of all, let me just preface everything. What I'm sharing is my opinion. So, take it for what it's worth. As far as rewarding, we hear this a lot. Typically, when someone gives you a referral, they don't expect a reward. If you want to give them something small, some token amount to thank them for it, that's fine. They don't do it for a reward. They don't do it because they're trying to make something out of it. They're doing it because they like you and they want to help you. And so if you want to give them a $5 Starbucks card or something small, do that. I personally don't. I send a thank you letter. That's what I do. That means more to me than anything else. I actually got one today from Lynn Clark, who was on my podcast. First one I've gotten from someone in years, but just, thanking me for the opportunity to come on the podcast. People appreciate that. People look at that, and that means more to them than a $5 Starbucks gift card. So.
Yeah, and I think as you were saying this, I think there's something to the fact that if a friend of theirs trusts their opinion enough to keep you, there's a source of pride in that, and just knowing that their friend took their advice is often reward enough, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It just gets back to people like to help other people.
Yeah, they do. And to know that they were heard and all that. Yeah, for sure. What do you think about social media? How important is social media in your sales plan?
Well, right now, social media is important, but it's not, again, everything that feeds into your sales strategy is to support that sales strategy, not in lieu of it. So social media is a way to communicate with your clients. Social media is a way to use for attraction, but it's not being a part of all the travel agent groups. It's going out to where the prospect is, and making yourself known as an expert, because you can't really get on there and ask for a sale in Facebook group or anything else like that. But you can become the expert that people are drawn to, and answering the questions. And I hired a couple of people to, for the technical side of my business through the Facebook group for Kajabi. I see they're answering the questions. They're experts at it, and I vetted them out. And good, okay, boom. I hired this person to build out a sales funnel or some pages on my site, because they've shown within the group that they know what they're doing. And I think you start doing the same thing, and then you start building a following. Also building your own Facebook groups for your clients to be a part of, to communicate with them. I think that's fantastic. But it needs to be part of the overall strategy, not the crutch, not the basis of it. Again, I go back to the real estate model, because that's so much what we are. Just focus on what's right under your feet, the diamonds that are there through your own network, and use your social media to communicate with them as part of that. You don't have to cast a wide net to make a lot of money. Narrow and deep usually does the trick more so than anything else.
Okay. I have another communication question for you. So many people are preferring to communicate with text or email instead of a phone call. Do you think these are acceptable means of communication, or is a phone call enough?
I think there's a couple of ways to answer that question. One is that the preferred way that person wants to be communicated with? If it is, then that's the appropriate way to do it. I'm a believer in the phone call until I'm told otherwise, because people, although they do text, they do stuff like that, they tend to, it's easy to ignore a text. It's easy to ignore an email. It's harder to ignore a phone call and a voicemail message. And so you do that, but as part of your overall strategy, if I hate when people text me, I don't like it, but I don't mind the email, but I do want to have a phone conversation with them. So if they seek me out that way, then that's what they do. If I've opted in for a text message, like for my refills at my pharmacy are done, then that's okay. But I don't want to be communicated with as a solicitation for a referral or anything like that via text. I want to talk to somebody. So that's just the other end. So it is a tool. They are tools, and our tools change over the years, and you utilize them the best way that you think is appropriate. And if that's the way that person chooses to communicate, and that's what they've told you, then that's the way I would do it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks. Business question for you, business strategy. How do you recommend a pivot at this point? Like if someone wanted to start a podcast or grow their team, how do they evaluate their options?
Well, I tend to jump in with both feet and then ask for forgiveness later. I think if you want to start a podcast, start a podcast. Figure out what you want to talk about and talk about it. There's an audience out there for everything. I found that out when I started my podcast. I didn't know anything about it, but I was a guest on Lynn Blanco, who does the Travel Agent podcast. I was a guest on hers, and I told her after, offline, I said, I've been thinking about doing this as part of, my business strategy. And she said, that's a great idea. I said, can you help me with this? She said, sure. Now she has a course that she sells as part of that can help you do that. But, and I didn't know where to go. I didn't know who to have hosted. I didn't know how all this works. So yeah, you jump in, you learn, you commit to it. It gets back to the do it now mentality. Just do it. Don't wait around for it. Don't wait till conditions are perfect, because they never will be. Do it. As far as the pivot goes, okay, what works for you? Where are you trying to pivot your business to? If it's from, one area within the industry to another, well, now's the time to do that for sure. Because you basically your clientele has gone on pause as well. So you can rebuild your reputation. You can rebuild your website. You can rebuild your knowledge base, and you can, rebuild who your target is and go after that particular one. And it may be, so to be fair, what I shared with you today, these are transferable skills. If you learned this process, this sales acceleration system process, you can go and use this in real estate sales, insurance sales, car sales, anything that is commission-based business that you can control, where you're the one who is the primary salesperson. This will work for that. This works. I mean, that's what the beauty of this is. It's transferable. So if you decide you want to pivot outside the industry, this will take you there. And so it's a matter of where do you want to pivot to. I wouldn't pivot too far away from your area of expertise just because, it's a lot to learn. But if you're pivoting within the industry, saying going from being a cruise expert to a Mexican resort expert or something like that, that is a very doable thing and something I would definitely encourage you to consider. That make sense?
Yeah, it does. Okay, so I said we'd go about 10 minutes, so I'll ask one last question and then I'll turn it to you for closing comments. So how do you service a new customer when you start looking for upscale, but then you suddenly learn that they really want budget? How do you keep them or do you move them along?
Well, it's your call, really. I mean, if you're finding that out after the fact, it just means you didn't ask enough questions, typically in what you call the discovery phase or the, after you've established rapport, now you're asking the questions. I call it the questioning phase because that's where you're asking, the who, what, now, why, where, and when. The most important question being the why part of it. But that's where you figure out what it is. Now, usually you ask somebody, okay, what's your budget? Well, everybody says we don't really have a budget. Well, everybody has a budget. And so you just ask more specific questions to get there. So that's how you prevent that from happening. Okay, what happens when you get there? Well, that's up to you. You can, if you find out that they're really in, a budget area that you don't want to work with, you don't want to deal with, because I can share this with you. In my experience, the more budget conscious they are, the more hassle they are as a customer. The more they're willing to, the more luxury or more higher end, they have realistic expectations. The lower end products typically, or lower end customers typically have big expectations. So I would say, it's a personal call. If you want the business, need the business, I wouldn't expect that business to turn into something else down the line, because folks like that tend not to be loyal. But if you need it, hey, I get you got to put food on the table. So you can take the business if you need to, but it's purely a personal call. I would have to actually, if it was me, I would look at the situation, see how far along I'm into it, and say, okay, you know what, it probably doesn't make sense for us to continue to do. Let me refer you to someone who can take care of you better. That's probably how I would handle that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Thank you. All right, I'll stop there, Dan. Lots of questions for me to turn over to you after the webinar, but let me now turn it back to you for closing comments.
Well, first and foremost is, I think keep your heads up. This is, we will come through this. It will be a very different business than what we were at a few months ago. And those that really dial in and discover that the true purpose of their business is to sell travel and, proactively go out there and find the business, go out and look for it, are they going to be the ones to excel? So those of you who embrace this system, I give you a 90-day guarantee you'll get there. But it's going to look different. I don't think any of us at this point have the expectation that everything is going to go back the way it was. Cruise ships are docked. Again, you're probably only going to see about 20 to 30% of the inventory come out from there. Vegas hotels, when they start opening up, will probably be at 20 to 30 to 50% of the capacity. So it's going to be a very different, but it's also going to be a much more competitive environment. So, if you're in this for the long haul, and that's who I'm talking to today. If you're in this to win it, you're in it for good, not just, I'm a hobbyist and I'm just doing it because I think it's fun. But if you're in it because it's a business and a career and it's something you're serious about, I'm going to encourage you to embrace this system, because it works. It will take you where you need to go if you do it. That's the thing, though. You just have to take the action and do the things that you have to do. And you may not be comfortable doing them at first, but you'll work through that, and you'll get there. But be positive, but also be realistic. I think that's not gonna blow smoke anywhere. It's going to be a tough time, but you can position yourself going forward that you will reach your destination in half the time that you need to get there. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. I put this back up on the screen. Just go to wealthytravelagent.com. And you can click through and participate in the program from there. You've got your 90-day guarantee. Don't like it for any reason, whatever, I'm happy to give your money back. But I want to make sure everyone has the opportunity to be able to change their life, change their business to where you want it to be. So thank you so much for joining us today.
My thanks as well. We appreciate having all of you here with us. And with that, we will say good day and conclude our webinar. Goodbye, everyone.